Get a sip of my water. Health is wealth, guys. Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MUFC MPB here on YouTube. My name is Brooks, and today is Friday, the 6th of December. Of course, I want to start this video off by, on behalf of MUFC MPB and myself, I just want to wish, or not wish, I just want to say rest in peace, and all of my wishes going out to Kath, who worked on the reception at Old Trafford. She was a very popular figure within Manchester United. I think she was there for around 56 or something years, working as a receptionist at Old Trafford. If I'm correct, I mean, if I'm wrong, I apologise. But in the last day or two, it has come out that she unfortunately passed away. We've seen a lot of condolences and a lot of messages and a lot of reaching out from ex-Manchester United players, Manchester United accounts, Manchester United themselves, and a lot of other people wishing her peace in the afterlife, reaching out to her family, wishing all of them all of our faith and happiness. It is very sad, as she appeared to be an integral part of Manchester United. The kind of atmosphere that was around at the ground, she was at the heart of it, and you know, she would have been the first face that anybody saw when they went into Old Trafford. So look, it's sad for Manchester United, and I hope that everybody there is okay, especially the younger players and the players that did come through at the club, because of course she would have been such an important role in them growing up there. She would have been looking after some players, making sure that they were all right. Of course, the players that weren't from Manchester, David Beckham, for example, I'll be able to read out something that he wrote on his Instagram for Kathy, because it does seem like a bit of an emotional time for a lot of the people that are involved intrinsically with Manchester United. And I would just like to say something else after this as well, as it might offer a bit of an explanation as to, you know, a reason something happened. But on his Instagram, David Beckham, dedicating the post to Kath on reception, says, "Forever in our hearts, the first and last face I would always see was Kath sat at reception at Old Trafford waiting to give me my tickets for the game. She was the heartbeat of Manchester United. Everyone knew who Kath was and everyone adored her. I moved up to Manchester aged 15 and Kath made a promise to my mum and dad. I'll look after your boy for you, don't worry. And from that first day till the last day I spent with her, that's exactly what she did. Old Trafford will never be the same without your smile as we walk through those doors. We love you." Of course, not all of us, or barely any of us, can copy those words from David Beckham, as it does come from a bit of a unique place. But as I will say again, on behalf of MUFC MPB, myself, and all of the viewers here, all of Manchester United fans across the world, we want to say rest in peace, Kath, and we hope that everybody involved or everybody connected to her is all right. Now, I just want to say something else. Marcus Rashford didn't start against Arsenal. He would have been someone that was quite or relatively close with Kath, and I don't think this would have come as a surprise to her unfortunate passing. So maybe that might be a reason why he didn't start against Arsenal. He might not have been in the right frame of mind, and it might be a reason as to why he didn't play up to his full potential when he came on. Things like that hit people differently. Some people might be able to play a game to their full ability after something like that happens, but some people may not. We're not too sure. So I would also, on behalf of a few people, like to say sorry to Marcus Rashford, because some criticism is out of our hands. Some performances are out of our hands, and most of the events that happen at Manchester United, like this one, are definitely out of our hands. So sometimes we just have to take a step back, really put everything into consideration, and be grateful that we are here and able to watch and talk about Manchester United. And unfortunately for Kath, she is no longer with us. So I would just like to move on from that topic, as it is a bit of a mood killer, and it is a bit sad. But there are other topics that we should be going over in this episode. As you can tell by the thumbnail and the video of the title, this episode will be loosely based on Canadian and Bayern Munich left-back / left midfielder Alphonso Davies. He is someone that we have been linked with heavily in the last week or so, as his contract situation at Bayern Well, his contract, I believe, is coming up at the end of the season, which does present teams across Europe with the opportunity to get a very, very good fullback for very, very cheap. A lot of teams do need a fullback. A lot of teams won't be able to afford or pay his wages. However, Manchester United are one of those, especially with the new formation that we're playing. Having someone who's very, very comfortable as a left midfielder / left wing back is a priority, and Alphonso Davies does tick these two boxes. I believe he moved to Bayern Munich from Vancouver Whitecaps around 6 years ago, and he quickly became one of the most effective and one of the best left backs in world football, especially I think in the 2019 or 2020 season when Bayern Munich did win the Champions League. Well, I think it was a COVID season they won the Champions League. He had a standout performance, I think, in the semi-finals or the quarterfinals against Barcelona, a tie which I think Bayern Munich won 7-2 or something like that. And ever since then, he's never really dropped his level. He's had a few poor spells between then and now, but all in all, he is definitely someone that is up there in the top 5 or 6 fullbacks in the world. And with the ability to play in the wing-back / left midfield position, it just seems like this transfer is something that would fit like a glove for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. Now, I do have something on my screen here, which unfortunately you guys won't be able to see, but it is just like a mock 3-4-2-1 lineup with the potential Davies signing if it does happen. Now, in goal we have Onana, centre-backs are Alessandro on the left, De Ligt at centre-back, and Lenny Yoro in the right centre-back position. I haven't put in Mazraoui in this, not for any reason in particular. It's just because I haven't moved Ahmad out of the wing-back position because we haven't actually seen him in the 10 yet. So Mazraoui definitely will be playing, but I just don't have him in this lineup. Across the middle, we have Ahmed in the right wing-back position or right midfield position. The two centre midfielders being Manu Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo. And then in the left midfield position, we do have Alphonso Davies, just so I can help visualise it for myself. In the 2-10 positions, we have Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount. And up front, we do have Rasmus Højlund. Now, even though his contract is up in the summer, obviously, if he is able to run it down and become a free agent in the summer, there are going to be a plethora of clubs bidding for his signature. So this looks like a deal that Manchester United are going to have to get done relatively soon. Whether or not that's in January, him coming into Manchester United and actually putting on a shirt, playing matches for us until the end of the season is one thing. However, there is an opportunity for something which is called a pre-contract agreement, which is what a lot of clubs do with players that have 6 months or less left on their contract at their current club. In this case, Alphonso Davies. Now, it has been reported by Christian Falk, who is a very, very reliable source when it comes to Bayern Munich transfer news, that Manchester United have asked Alphonso Davies and his manager for a meeting in January. I don't know if that's Vincent Kompany manager or Alphonso Davies' agent or manager. I'm not sure which one of those it is. Bayern Munich have not yet accepted Davies' demand of a 16 million euro per year salary and 15 million euro signing fee. Now, this is something which I'm happy with. I've said on the channel over the past couple of weeks, Theo Hernandez would be my first choice, as I think he's better. I think he's the best left back in the world, basically. And I think if Manchester United want to get back to where they want to be, even though marquee signings like the Falcaos, like the Di Marias, haven't really worked in the past, I feel like they might have been a bit too glamorous. Even though Theo Hernandez is an AC Milan player, I think he's either the captain or I think he's the vice captain. He's the best in his position in world football. I think he's 27, so he's prime age. He would demand a lot of money, but that's what you get to do. You have to earn the right to demand a lot of money, and of course he would. I still think this sort of a signing would send out a real statement to the rest of Europe, not let alone just the rest of the Premier League, that Manchester United, with their new manager, who they fully believe in, are ready to back him to the hills and give him the best that they can possibly get him. Look, Alphonso Davies is the next one on the list. I think there is a relatively big gap in quality between Hernandez and Davies, but it wouldn't make, I would think, too much of a difference given his profile. Now, if we just look at Alphonso Davies and the type of player he is, we can kind of figure out how well he will fit the system. Obviously, individual players in different positions have different duties, but one thing which is very noticeable in Amorim's system, in the way he was playing at Sporting and the way he wants us to play at Manchester United, is that the left midfield and the right midfield positions have to be able to confidently take on their man at any given opportunity and get us up the pitch as quickly as possible. With Amad Diallo on the right, we've already seen this in abundance, especially against Everton. The first thought on his mind when he gets the ball is to look up and try and beat his opponent, or, it'll probably be a left back or a left midfield, whoever it may be. We need somebody on the left who's able to do exactly the same thing. And with Alphonso Davies, because of his attacking nature, I believe he's actually, or came through the system at Vancouver Whitecaps, I think was his team, as a left winger. When he plays for Canada, he plays as a left winger as well. So it is natural for him to want to beat his man and get the ball and just create an opportunity, as many as he can. He's solid defensively. Not as good as someone like a Wan-Bissaka or anything like that. He won't be as good defensively as Nusayr Mazraoui, for example, but he does have the capabilities and he does have the recovery pace and defensive awareness to do a very good job in the defensive aspect of his position. He's also a goal threat. We saw against, I believe, Real Madrid last season. Was it Real Madrid? I think it might have been Real Madrid last season in the Champions League at the Bernabeu. He does have an eye for goal. Brilliant finish with his weaker foot, curling it round, I believe, Thibaut Courtois and finding the side of the net. He's also got a lot of experience in Europe. I know he's still relatively young. Let me just check. I think he is 24. He is 24. Yeah, he is 24. He's just turned 24 last month, so I was right there. Thank God my guesses are getting scarily accurate, because I genuinely had no idea. He could have been 27 for all I care. But he is a 24-year-old fullback with a lot of potential, hopefully to fulfill at Manchester United. Now, because his contract is up in the summer, if we were to get him in January, we would have to pay some sort of a transfer fee. If we were to bring him in January and, have him playing for Manchester United in January, not, for example, if we signed him on a pre-contract and he came in the summer, we would have to pay some sort of a transfer fee. However, it wouldn't be a heavy transfer fee. I reckon it would be somewhere below 20 million euros or 20 million pounds, which I think is an absolute bargain. Yes, of course, it would be subsided in the wages that he would demand. I have no idea the sort of range which he would say, but I would imagine it would be between the 150 and 225 mark, whether or not it's £150,000 or whether he'll be pushing for the max, which would be around 225. I'm not sure. But in this sort of instance, I think it would be more justifiable, given we wouldn't have had to pay much in terms of a transfer fee. And just a bit more context, if he was to come in for free in the summer, his wages would be even more than that. So I would say don't be alarmed if he does happen to be on relatively high wages, given the new supposed wage structure attempt at Manchester United. Because there are a lot of players at the club right now on crazy high wages who probably don't, I wouldn't say don't deserve them, but I guess they haven't played good enough to warrant them. A lot of criticism gets thrown towards Marcus Rashford because I think he's on £300,000 or £350,000 a week. But when you've got players coming in with Alphonso Davies' quality on a free or a very cheap transfer cost, some of those wages might be almost that high again. I'm not a fan of high wages, obviously. I believe Manchester United's whole wage structure and contract structure is a bit up in the mud. And it is something which we are trying to fix. But I think performance-based contracts are the way forward, in not just at Manchester United, but for anybody, because it takes away I'm earning big money now. I can relax, I can rest. Obviously, it depends on the individual and the mentality that they have in their head, but performance-based, in my opinion, is always the way forward. That means contracts have a base salary, let's say, for example, £100,000 a week, but clean sheets, you get extra money. Goals, you get extra money. If you reach 50 appearances or something for Manchester United, you get extra money. If we win the league, you get a bonus, etc., etc. Incentive-based performance contracts are the way forward. If I was in charge, that would be something I'd try and get down with Alphonso Davies, because it does give players who, you know, obviously some footballers are there for the money. We know this. Some footballers play football because it's a lot of money and they are good enough to actually do it. A lot of players with that it kind of backfires on them, because, you know, they get the money and they think they've already made it, or they just take their foot off the gas. If their base salary isn't what they want it to be, but the way they have to get there is by playing well, by reaching milestones and objectives, it just does give players a little bit extra motivation if they really want to chase that money. I don't know what Alphonso Davies' stance is on wages. Is it something he cares about so much, or is it something that is not at the forefront of his mind? Is genuinely just playing and enjoying his game at the forefront of his mind? I don't know. Now, this is a report from Pletigol. Pletigol are a news outlet who do come in for some criticism when it comes to their reliability and the tier that they're in. But they have a slightly conflicting report regarding Alphonso Davies. They say Manchester United have been made aware that Alphonso Davies is now likely to sign a new contract at Bayern. Now, given the report which I read before, which said that Bayern Munich have not accepted Davies' demand of a 16 million euro per year salary and a 15 million euro signing fee, maybe they did. We don't know. Or maybe this is just an attempt from Pletigol to put a bit of extra pressure on Bayern Munich, or let's say Manchester United, to try and secure this deal. Because if we look at it from complete different angles, we could... Look, obviously massive football clubs do have some sort of a say and an influence in what gets published, because obviously the factual stuff that gets published, it will only be stuff that has been told by the reporter or an outlet by someone from the club, or someone who is informed on what's going on. And a lot of the time you see some reports where, let's say for example, there's a player called John Doe and he's linked to Arsenal or he's linked to Liverpool or something. If he wants that move, or if the club if one of the interested clubs wants that move, they might put out, or allegedly they might put out a fake story to try and speed up the process by saying something along the lines of this: Manchester United have been made aware that Alphonso Davies is now likely to sign a new contract. Alphonso Davies' camp might have put that out because maybe he wants to push a move to Manchester United without actually handing in a formal transfer request or coming public with it. We don't know. But if the situation is that he is going to sign a new contract at Bayern Munich, then of course that's a deal we can kiss goodbye, whether or not it's in January or the summer, and we will have to turn our attention to some of the other left midfielders / left wing backs that we have been linked to. Players like Milos Kerkez, the Hungarian fullback from Bournemouth, Rayan Ait-Nouri, the Algerian fullback or left midfielder from Wolves, or Theo Hernandez, for example, who I think is the best in class, French international, AC Milan vice-captain. Either one of those I would be happy with. As I've always said though, Theo Hernandez is definitely my first choice for that position. However, of course, I won't be upset with Alphonso Davies' signature. Now, moving on from Alphonso Davies, we will be speaking a little bit about Toby Collier and a potential move away from Manchester United. This is reported by The Sun Football. Ruud van Nistelrooy is planning to use his contacts at Manchester United to sign Toby Collier on loan in January for Leicester. Now, if you remember, obviously under Erik ten Hag, he's no longer here anymore. Toby Collier was probably the last youth player that was about to come through or had already made it to the first team. He hasn't, but he made a couple of appearances under Erik ten Hag, and it did look like he would be playing quite a few minutes this season. He hasn't yet, and whether or not Ruben Amorim views him in the same light as Erik ten Hag is another question. It's not a question any of us know the answer to yet, but obviously he's somebody that Ruud van Nistelrooy thought was very good and appreciated and thinks is good enough to go and play for Leicester and help them have a solid finish to the season. I think this would be a good move, mainly because it is Ruud van Nistelrooy, someone that he has worked directly beneath at Manchester United. I know it wasn't for a long time, but they must have some sort of relationship, whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationship. Also, Leicester in the Premier League, they're not a Championship side at the moment, so they are playing Premier League football. And if we want our youth players to come through and actually make it into the first team and be able to make the step and bridge the gap between the youth and the senior team at Manchester United, Premier League experience is vital. I know a lot of players go on loan to Championship, League One, League Two clubs to get a taste of men's football. But if you speak to any professional footballer, you speak to the pundits, the gap, it's almost like you have the League Two, League One, Championship here. They're not obviously all the same level because they're tiers, but, you know, relatively similar levels of football. And then there's a massive, massive jump to the Premier League. And that comes with the amount of money that Premier League clubs have, the talent that Premier League clubs have that are just so much better than Championship players. And some players can't do it. Some teams can't do it, which is why you see clubs go up and down like a yo-yo. If we want our youth players to come through, very rarely you're going to have players like Kobbie Mainoo coming through who tear it up for the youth team and then come in and just hit the ground running and almost look as if they've always been playing senior football in the Premier League for Manchester United. Most of the time we're not going to get that. So we're going to have to loan players out. I always say loan them to a Premier League side, that aren't, you know, fighting relegation, but they will get minutes at, that they will be able to help or try their best to help them progress up the table. And I think Leicester is a perfect example of this. You've got a manager here who knows who he is, who trusts him, obviously. And I believe if he was to go into Leicester, he'd have a good chance to play first team football, whether or not it's just for the 6 months from January to the summer, or whether or not it's January to the summer, then Van Nistelrooy wants to sign him on another season-long loan, because I don't think Toby Collier is someone that Manchester United will be looking to get rid of on a permanent basis way too soon, because he does have a lot of promise. He does have the potential to probably be, at the very least, a Manchester United squad player, probably backup or a sporadic first-team player to a centre defensive midfielder like Manu Ugarte, or even Kobbie Mainoo. I think he does have the talent to do it. And he did show it under Ten Hag in pre-season and a little bit for a brief period in the, you know, actual season. So that will be an interesting development. Another player who, well, reported by Graham Bailey, another player that Manchester United might be looking to offload on loan in January is striker Ethan Wheatley. League One sides Wrexham and Stockport County are interested in signing Ethan Wheatley on loan in January. Now, obviously, Mason Greenwood doesn't play for Manchester United anymore. He will never play for Manchester United anymore. But in Ethan Wheatley, you have someone there who almost replicates the style of play that Mason Greenwood has. He's tall, he's almost lanky, but he has some sort of a physical presence. He's a very, very good finisher, and he is good off both feet. He's not someone who can really play on the right wing or left wing positions. He's more of a central striker, so he would be the team's focal point. But the pathway to the first team for him, unfortunately, at the moment, doesn't look too promising, as, you know, Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, Marcus Rashford. And then, of course, in the summer, we did sign Chido Obi Martin, who actually is the first team's third choice striker. He made his debut for the under-21s a few days ago, but the plan is for him to make it to the first team as soon as possible. You know, of course, everybody's plan is, but that is what would have been discussed with him during the contract negotiations, and that would have been a factor into why he signed for Manchester United, because it wasn't something that Arsenal were able to promise him. Now, that does mean players like Ethan Wheatley, even though they were given a chance under Erik ten Hag, especially in pre-season and a couple of fixtures here and there, they might not see as clear a pathway to the first team as before. That doesn't mean they're going to have to, you know, rot in the under-21s until they're 23 years old, but instead go out on loan to get a taste of men's football sooner to, I guess, see if they can do it. I know, you know, League One isn't the Premier League, but it will help build up some sort of an understanding, a bit more emotional and physical strength and intelligence. And Ethan Wheatley's someone who I'm a fan of. As I said, he's not as good as Mason Greenwood, but they do play quite similar football. So it would have been interesting to see how he does perform for Manchester United in the first team. But a loan to League One side Wrexham or Stockport County is something I'd be definitely interested in. Preferably Wrexham, because they are higher up in the table. If he was able to go there and get a solid amount of minutes whilst pushing for promotion to the Championship, I think that could be something that would benefit him definitely in the long run more than a move to Stockport County. Also because of the pressure that Wrexham play under. I know they're in League One and I know they're still relatively new when it comes to money, but the cameras, the press, the attention that they get in League One is probably the closest thing that you're going to get to a club like Manchester United. So I think all of those factors are important, because some players, they might not be able to handle the pressure from the press and all the constant attention. It will be a good test for him to see if he can actually do it at a club like Wrexham. Who knows, you might see him on Disney Plus at some point if he does make that move, because of course Wrexham do have a show on there. So that's another that is another interesting development. There are a few other players, I guess, who I would like to move from Manchester United on loan, especially from the youth ranks, because, to be fair, every single year a lot of attention is cast on the youth sides because, you know, Manchester United youth players potentially playing for the first team. But you've got players like Amir Ibrahimov, you've got, can't remember his first name, but his second name is Williams. Of course, you've got Chido Obi Martin as, I think, the main three players. Oh, I would say Kokonki as well, but he is training with the first team currently. But those other three players are players who I'd be interested to see go out on loan, especially Amir Ibrahimov. Because in the matches that Manchester United under-21s and under-18s do play against senior sides, he's always a standout player, and he's always someone that looks like he's able to handle the contact physically. And he just performs very well against senior sides. So he is someone that, before we do kind of thrust him into the Manchester United first team fold, he's someone that I do want to see go on loan to a side in the Championship or League One, just so we can get 6 months or a year playing men's football every single week and getting a good amount of minutes, because there is a very, very good talent in there. Everybody knows about him. And I genuinely think this is something which we could mess up. If we were to thrust him too quick, it might be too soon. However, if we don't mess it up and if we do let him reach his full potential, he is a wonder. He will be a wonder kid. He will be a world-class talent. Yeah, Damian Stanley says Obi, which I'm guessing is referring to Chido Obi Martin. He's also someone who I'd like to see go out on loan, to be honest. I think in Højlund, Rashford and Xerxes, we have three players there who, for the remainder of the season, I think could do a job in the number 9 position in Amarim's system. I think it would almost be a bit unfair. I know Chido is the club's third choice out-and-out striker, but I think it would be a bit unfair to almost put him there now. I don't think it's something for now. I think that will be something for next year, or maybe in 18 months or something. So giving him the opportunity to play men's football week in, week out in the Championship or in League One, I think would benefit everybody massively, because it will tell you a lot about a player. A lot of young players, when they're playing for the youth teams, they are head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to youth football, but they're unable to make the step up. Or they might be 16 or 17 and have this tag of being a wonder kid or potential world-class talent or someone who's going to go and play for a top club, and they might not make it. I think an example of this for someone my age was Will Hughes. I remember when he was at Derby County doing his GCSEs, and I think Liverpool linked to him. In the end, he didn't move to Liverpool. I think he went to Watford instead. But with that move, whether or not it was the right or wrong move, or whether or not his talents were completely blown out of proportion, he never really lived up to his alleged potential. And I think that can happen to a lot of players coming through the youth system. So this is something, with the talent that we have at the moment, we have to be very, very careful with, because not everybody is a Kobbie Mainoo. Not everybody can be doing bits in the youth team and then just come straight into the first team and carry on doing bits. Most 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work like that. Luckily for us, Kobbie Mainoo is a diamond in the dust, almost an already polished diamond. So we got lucky there, and we have to make sure we keep all of these other youth players on that same trajectory and give them the best chance possible to actually succeed and reach their potential for Manchester United's first team. Yeah, just Ahmad did at Sunderland. Yeah, Ahmad is another example. However, I don't think this might be in the same category, because we signed him from Atalanta for, I can't remember how much, but it was an obscene amount for a youth player. So it's almost like, how can I explain this? We were signing someone who was ready for men's football, by the way. I know he came in and was playing youth team football for United, but I think that was to get him acclimatised to English football, to get him understanding of the system that Manchester United do play. It's different when a youth player comes through, because more often than not, the youth teams play the same system as the senior team to make the transition from youth to senior football as seamless as possible. I can't remember if Manchester United's youth were playing the same as the senior side, if they were playing the same sort of football as Ollie was, because Ollie signed him or not. But loaning him out to Sunderland, loaning him out to Rangers, especially Rangers, I think, in my opinion, Rangers might have done more for Amad Diallo than Sunderland, because at Rangers he was playing European football. And when you're playing a game like the Old Firm, a lot of footballers say that is like the most intense derby in Europe. So I think that would have done a lot for his, psyche, I think, being in such a high pressure environment like that. Of course, he did perform way better at Sunderland. Didn't he get Player of the Season or something at Sunderland? Obviously, Sunderland fans adore him. They obviously take him back in a heartbeat. But I think with that, the quality of look, I won't disrespect the SPL or the Scottish Premier League in any sense of the word, but I think the quality of most of the Championship sides would be better than the quality in Scotland. So think of it like this: Amad Diallo goes to Rangers. The atmosphere, the European games, the games against Celtic, and being able to actually challenge for some sort of title, I think would have given him very, very good experience when it comes to playing at a top club relative to the country that you're in. However, I think the loan move to Sunderland might have helped him technically and help understand English football a little bit better. I'm not saying that Sunderland isn't a good atmospheric club or anything like that, but I think the English football, how close they were to getting promoted to the Premier League, mixed with the atmosphere, mixed with the pressure and the press at Rangers, I think it might have been the perfect mix of moves for him to come in at Manchester United and then succeed. Of course, he wasn't playing so much under Erik ten Hag, but we're reaping the benefits of those loan moves now. But as I was saying before, going back to the actual topic, I think Ethan Wheatley, I think a move to Wrexham would be very beneficial to him and his development, in the hopes that he does carry on progressing and become a Manchester United first team player. Now, we are coming to the end of the stream, and I did say something at the beginning before a few of you guys joined, but I will just go over it. On behalf of MUFC MPB, myself, everybody watching this channel and involved with Manchester United, we would just like to say rest in peace, Kath, who worked on reception at Old Trafford. She died at the age of 85 years old. She is very well known in Manchester United, and a lot of people say that she's someone who always keeps things ticking. She's always someone who brightens the atmosphere. I will go over again the post that David Beckham posted dedicated to Kath on his Instagram, because it was very touching, and it was an indication as to the type of woman that she is. So this will be the last thing to speak about before we end the episode. David Beckham says, "Forever in our hearts. The first and last face I would always see was Kath sat at reception at Old Trafford waiting to give me my tickets for the game. She was the heartbeat of Manchester United. Everyone knew who Kath was and everyone adored her. I moved up to Manchester at 15 and Kath made a promise to my mum and dad. I'll look after your boy for you, don't worry. And from the first day till the last day I spent with her, that's exactly what she did. Old Trafford will never be the same without your smile as we walk through those doors. We love you." So it's a very moving post from David Beckham, and I hope everybody at Manchester United is coping well with a massive loss for the club. Someone that important, someone so intrinsic to the success that Manchester United have had over the years. She would have been there through the Sir Alex Ferguson era. She would have helped the class of 92 come through. She would have helped all of these other players come through. She would have been there for the treble, for the second Champions League win under Sir Alex. She would have been there for when he left. What I'm trying to say is that the whole time Manchester United have been successful, there has been one constant at the club, and that would have been Kath sat at reception. So her going now, it's going to be a change of atmosphere. There's going to be someone different there. And I hope that it doesn't affect the players too much, especially players like Marcus Rashford, who did come through the ranks at Manchester United, of course, local Manchester boy. So rest in peace, Kath, at reception, from everybody here at Manchester United and MUFC MPB. On that note, we are coming to the last episode of the week, or the last stream of the week. I'll be back with you on Monday at 11 a.m. with probably a reaction to the game against Forest tomorrow at Old Trafford at 5:30 p.m. Make sure you guys do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Make sure you go follow at MUFC MPB over on X for exactly that, as well as myself at Anton Brooks AMB if you want to keep up to date with my life, Football Manager, and streams, etc. I'll see you guys back on Monday at 11 o'clock. Hope you have a good weekend. Hope Manchester United win. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win because it is against Forest. They are in good form. But yeah, I will see you guys on Monday.